Hello, my sober lovelies. Before we dive in, I'm really excited to announce my group coaching program for women is live, and you can join now. So excited for this because let's be real here. Quitting drinking isn't just about saying no to the glass of wine or booze. It's about what comes after. All the fear, the boredom, the late night anxiety, and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And that's where my Rewired Sober group coaching program for women comes in. It's only $247. I'm being totally transparent on the price. It's for 3 months, and you'll learn how to shift your mindset, build habits that actually stick, and question the core beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, and find healthier ways to deal with that loneliness and that now what feeling. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. We'll have live group coaching sessions weekly, and there'll be a bunch of women walking through it with you. It's not another cookie cutter sobriety program for mommy vloggers. It's neuroscience meets real life, and it's designed for women to help you not just stay sober, but actually feel good living sober. You can join anytime, and I'd love to see you on the inside. So start today, get instant access. The link's in the show notes. Hey there, and welcome to You've Been Selected. I'm your host, Kate Vitella, and something tells me you didn't just stumble across this podcast by accident. Maybe, just maybe, you've been called here, like selected by the universe for something more. So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of You've Been Selected. I'm your host, Kate Vitella, and behind me is my dog, Oscar, going to town on a bone. So sorry about the background noise. Oh, and I think my neighbors are roofing, so today's just noisy. But I really felt compelled to record this, so I'm going in. This is another solo episode. I want to talk about my Faucets of Freedom, and they fall under the acronym WHAC, WHAC. And these are some of the more important ingredients, I feel like, to assist in recovery. And I'm going to share each part of the acronym and a little bit of an example. And the reason I say faucet is they're not really steps. They're somewhat of principles, but I like the concept of a faucet. I like the flowy, messy outpouring. And the idea sort of suggests that these principles they're always available to us, but they're not automatic. We have to choose sometimes to turn them on and let them flow. And I like the idea of it giving us a little power to tap into some of this stuff because, gosh, I mean, so much of our power is gone when we're in active addiction, and we really need something to hold on to. And I know you're probably thinking like, duh, some of these are pretty obvious. They are, but it really helps to hear it laid out. So stick with me here. Okay, first one is W for willingness. And I really want to discuss this here because this one was kind of baffling to me in the beginning because I thought you could force someone to get sober. I thought you could pressure them or make them. And I think my family really believed they could make me get sober when they had an intervention, when they shamed me. They took away my car keys. They took away my driver's license. I mean, they really did, out of fear and love, they did what they could to get me to stop drinking. And I'm here to tell you, nobody and nothing can make you get sober. Not your partner, your kids, your job, your cat, your grandma. Nobody and nothing. You have to have the willingness to do this. And even treatment facilities, jail, rehab, detox, those are temporary. You're going to come out on the other side, and you're going to have to be willing to continue this journey. And in a sense, you have to get to a place where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And pain is often a good catalyst for readiness and willingness, but it doesn't have to be that way. but you really need to get to a place where you can surrender to the notion that you need help. I mean, I'm a perfect example here. I got a DUI in 2014. I got sober in 2018. 4 years passed of all the consequences of a DUI, the ankle monitor, the legal fees, losing a job, my friends and family really being so embarrassed and frustrated with me. And it didn't get me sober because nobody and nothing could make me get sober. They even had a family intervention. Not my stepkids or my sisters or even my nurse friends. It really wasn't even the monitoring program that I got put in for nurses that made me get sober. That was just another catalyst. I was actually looking forward to that program because I was ready and willing. And I was looking forward to being in a support group of other nurses. And in a sense, I was looking forward to being able to say it out loud. And if you've listened to the beginning episodes when I talk about reading a book, closing it, and going straight to an AA meeting, that was all me and divine intervention. I mean, that was all me and God right there. That was my moment of 100% willingness. And I didn't look back. And it's sort of the entry point, right? It's the first step. So for each of these, I'm going to give a little idea around a mindset shift, something that you can reflect on or remind yourself. And I ask clients sometimes to reflect on the question, am I really ready to do what I need to do to face everything, no matter how uncomfortable all of this is, no matter how challenging? And really notice where you're showing areas of resistance, where you feel like you have a lot of doubt. Just remind yourself here that willingness is about being open and not to focus on how hard this is going to be, and ask yourself, like, what if I just tried this? What if I was just willing to listen to this one person or this one small thing? Again, this is an inside job, man. Willingness is an inside job. You've got to get to that place where you are ready. So the H in WHAC is for humor, humility, and honesty. I love the H. So I'm going to start with humor because I feel like this is probably one of my most favorite and important faucets of recovery, because I am a person who laughs all day long at myself, at everyone else. Laughter is a huge part of my life. And I would say it's one of my more identifying factors. Like, people know me to be the funny one, the silly one. And this, I believe, is why my mental health is as good as it is today, despite all the major crap I've gone through. And humor allows you to take yourself a little less seriously. You realize, like, you are not God. It is not all about you.com. And let's face it, this shit's funny. I mean, the shit we did. And there's this sudden realization of how we like defended our actions in active addiction. And it's really funny. I mean, here's me. I get pulled over by the cop when I got my DUI. And I said to him, "Don't you have anything better than you tonight?" No, dude. This is what he does. This is his job. Like, pulling over a drunk driver who blows a 2.5 on the Richter scale, like, that's literally his job. I can look back at that and laugh. Like, look back at my drunk ass self and covered in glitter and just be grateful that I didn't hit anybody. I tell the story of the time I got 86 from a dentist office. Yes, I said dentist. And I walked away and talked to my husband, like, oh, what a jerk. Like, who does he think he is? No, it's literally his job. It's his ethical code as a dentist to not work on a patient under the influence of alcohol, to not do a filling on someone whose breath smells like rotten fruit and vomit. I mean, there's so many medical risks here, like aspiration and bleeding and vomiting. And then I could have done something really dangerous while I was in the chair. I was combative. Like, how could I even give consent? I mean, it's so ridiculous. But at the time, I was such a brat, and I can look back on that and laugh at myself. Like, who does that? Of course, I can laugh because nothing was ever my fault in my head. And I look back and I think, oh my God, it was all me. Like, hey, I'm the problem, it's me. But laughing releases chemical responses in our brain and our body. It helps stop the stress cycle. And it also is easier to be vulnerable with other people when we use humor. It brings you so much closer to people in recovery circles and so much closer to the people around you. This has been one of my go-tos when I work with clients is we're going to laugh together because oftentimes things are really heavy and hard and we don't just have to sit and cry. Laughing through this is a lifesaver. I think as a mindset shift here, I would encourage you to think about humor as a necessity. And I want you to look at this entire journey with the possibility of laughter and humor the entire way. It doesn't have to all be rigor and shame and brutal conversations. I really want you to think about, imagine yourself sitting in a room full of people talking about all the stupid shit you did drunk, laughing your ass off, and how healing that would be. And if it takes some humor to be more vulnerable, then lean into that. It really improves your own mindset outlook, your own ability to be honest. Humor is the way to go. I mean, humor is key. The other H is humility. And again, this one's like, duh, of course, you have to be kind of humble. Like, you got to recognize, look in the mirror, the problem's you. No, I'm just kidding. But humility helps break down that wall of ego and self-deception that really can keep us kind of trapped in this cycle of denial and perfectionism and blame. And in the beginning, I remember I was so proud. I was so angry. And I didn't want anyone to know or judge me because I was fragile. And I spent so much time and energy putting up this facade. I was never wrong. And it was everyone else's fault. I was like the angry, vengeful victim. I felt justified, like, to act a fool and cause drama and like ruin Christmas because, everything was everyone else's fault. And as I started to go through the process of recovery and allow humility in, I was able to open up to growth and change in a way that was never going to be possible when I was focused on protecting my pride. And humility allowed me to look at where my limitations are, where my edge is, where my blind spots are, and to learn and grow. I mean, it helped me crack wide open because I looked at myself honestly and I was able to take responsibility without shame or defensiveness, take responsibility for all the things I had done and not beat myself up over it, but just take ownership and have the courage to say, like, I don't know everything. As a nurse, this was really hard for me because I wasn't used to being the one who needed help. I was the one who knew everything, and I knew everything about the human body and science, and I was used to being sort of in control of the situation. So it was really hard for me at first to say, I have a problem, I'm sick, I need help. I wasn't accustomed to using that level of humility, and it wasn't something that was demonstrated to me by my peers. None of my nurse friends were going to ever admit that they had issues with anything. And that's, again, why I was happy to enter into the support group with other nurses, because we were humbled. We had no choice. We had been caught. We were in trouble, right? We could not run from our destructive behaviors anymore. And the level of humility in that room was so refreshing. I met with this group every Tuesday, and we called ourselves out on stuff. And that's how we built connection with each other. Because like all those illusions of superiority or inferiority were removed. Like there was nobody in there that, that was any better than anyone else. It didn't matter whether you got busted for narcotics or alcohol or weed. It didn't matter whether you were a CNA or a nurse practitioner. There was no one superior. I walked in thinking I was going to know more than so many other people in that room, and I was blown away. I was humbled by what I learned. And when you sit in a recovery circle, you're sitting on equal ground with everyone, no matter where you're at in a recovery circle. Because addiction is like the great human equalizer. I mean, you look around and you understand that everyone has their own level of struggle and their own victory. And in any recovery room, you see a lawyer and a doctor and an engineer and a neuroscientist sitting next to a person unhoused or a stay-at-home mom or a teen mom or a school teacher, right? It's the human equalizer. We're all struggling with the same thing. And humility also taught me to have compassion for other people. Like I was one judgy wudgy mofo. Like, oh, come on, just pull yourself together. And maybe that was a nursing thing because I feel like all my nurse friends were like that. We just really didn't allow for each other to have a lot of flaws, especially admitting that we had freaking substance use issues. And this whole process just humbled me to the point where I can have compassion for others because I freaking know what it's like. And I have to say, I come from a place of privilege. I am a straight white female. I come from a family with financial means. And it was hard as hell for me to get sober. And I was a resourced individual. So imagine what this is like for people of color, transgender people, any marginalized group to go through this. The levels of stigma and mistreatment are exponentially higher than what I went through. So this taught me that I have no business judging anyone. If anything, I need to lend a hand. I need to extend a ladder and say, here, let me pull you up because I get it. And this was hard enough for me coming from a place of privilege. And humility also puts us in a place of service. It turns the focus from like, what do I look like? What's everyone think of me to what can I learn here? What can I give? What can I offer? What can I experience on this journey? And you'll see so many people in recovery shifting their mindset to one of service because this is how we've learned to look at the world and to pass along what has been freely given to us in terms of love and compassion and understanding. So, as a mindset shift for humility, I would encourage you to think of this as a strength. And I know that sounds cheesy because we always say, like, vulnerability is a strength. Yeah, you know that. But this is going to allow you to meet life without the need for control or perfectionism. You're going to learn the art of letting go and understanding growth is not about knowing everything, it's about being open to everything. Like Brene Brown says, I'm not here to be right. I'm here to get it right. And that's what humility says. The third H is honesty. And this one comes in layers because we get stuck in our illusions and like hiding behind all these rationalizations and excuses. And it keeps us from facing what's really going on. And I say us because not only did I go through this in early recovery, but this is an ongoing process for me. 2 years into my sobriety, I was still continuing to peel the layers back to uncover how I even got here in the first place. And I rationalized my drinking. Like everyone else does it. It's, everyone around me drinks. Like I need to drink. I have a really high stress job. No, of course. Like, and like, I don't like boring people. I don't want to be around boring people who don't drink. And if you had my life, you drink, blah, blah, motherfucking blah. And I wanted to say in meetings, like the same thing as everyone else was saying, like, yes, alcohol's addictive and my family of origin. But really, when I got honest with myself, I looked at my truth and my habits and my behaviors and things that I had been avoiding and numbing and deceiving about myself for a really long time. And not only did I have to get honest about my drinking, but at 2 years sober, I was able to uncover with pure honesty and raw truth that my first addiction was actually food, that all of it started with an eating disorder. And that's like next level honesty, to be able to say in a group of people. Sometimes they say even admitting to an eating disorder is harder than admitting to an addiction, because at least in a room full of people in recovery, we're all kind of an echo chamber. I digress. Like I can talk about this in another episode, but it was layers and layers and layers. And again, courage to say like, I'm not okay here. But this level of self-honesty was liberating. And once I experienced it, I wanted more of it because it took the guesswork out of my healing. I wasn't trying to uphold a facade or dance around the truth. I was just honest and raw and real. And I laid it on the line. I remember telling my husband, not only am I an alcoholic, but I'm a bulimic. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And it was just freeing to be able to say those things and to get that part of my truth off of my shoulders. And like, duh, he didn't know. I mean, come on, like he didn't know any different, right? But it was helpful for me to say it. And then once I had that next level of honesty, that's when I could help, have other people around me hold me accountable. And that's when I could be honest in situations where we're at a restaurant and maybe something triggering was coming to our table. And I could stand in my truth and say, you know what? I'm not doing that, eating that, being a part of that, ordering that. You're not going to shame me into ordering this or that or the other. There was so much clarity in what I needed to stay sober and what I needed to stay healthy and what I needed to overcome my eating disorder. All that clarity came with self-honesty because I was also able to more accurately identify the patterns, things that were keeping me stuck, because I was able to be honest with myself and understand what was motivating me and what were my fears and really start looking at that instead of just shellacking over it or treating the symptoms. And my ability to be honest in my relationship with my husband and my friends and my sisters, my mom, it built trust and depth that I did not have before. And honesty is kind of contagious. It just is. When I started speaking up about bulimia and drunkorexia and drinking out of a box of wine in recovery circles, other women said, yeah, me too. Me too. And it just fostered this true, genuine connection because we're showing up as we are. And that gives permission for other people to do the same. So, when thoughts and feelings come up, one thing you can consider is like, what does this reveal about me? Because honesty is powerful when it's reflective. It's a chance to understand what's truly driving you here in like unfiltered by external expectations. And so I would encourage a mindset shift around honesty. Duh, it's not always easy or comfortable, but it's essential. So you have to treat honesty as a form of like radical respect for yourself. You're being honest with yourself for yourself. And this is going to allow you to shed those old narratives, and this is going to allow you to heal. Remember, all of this, these are all called faucets to freedom. And the person that becomes free is you. So the A is for abstinence. Again, duh. You have to stay abstinent. I mean, come on, I'm going to say this. All mind and mood altering drugs. But I will add a caveat here. I am big on harm reduction. And that does not mean that you have to give up every awful thing you're doing in your life all at once. I am a big fan of meeting people where they are. So if, I'm not even going to go into this in specifics. If you're doing this, it's okay. If you do that, it's okay. This, it's okay. Because I don't have the rules and I don't make the freaking rules. Around abstinence, what I really want you to do is reframe it. It's not restriction, it's freedom. And be telling yourself, I'm choosing not to drink. I like myself this way. I like my life this way. I'm choosing not to do X, Y, or Z. And if you have to do something to keep yourself from drinking, then freaking do it. I am not the sober police. Like, I want people to do whatever the hell they need to do to stay sober. And I tell people, like, in the beginning, you have one job. One freaking job. Don't drink no matter what. If you have to eat a bag of jelly beans, if you smoke cigarettes, whatever it is that you have to do, no matter what, you're going to stay sober. So I encourage you to like look at a situation where you would typically lean on an old habit or a vice And instead of engaging, just give yourself a few minutes to sit with whatever comes up. But this is where we come up with the acronym HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Really look at what's coming up for you here. Is it boredom? Is it stress? Why? Ask yourself, what do you really need in that minute? Abstinence helps you to dig deep, to figure out what it is you really need. It might surprise you. It really might surprise you in what it is that you need. Hint: eat something, drink some water, take a freaking nap. So the mindset shift around abstinence it's about reclaiming your autonomy. It's powerful. It's not restriction. Every time you choose freedom over dependency, you're reinforcing your resilience, your inner clarity. So abstinence can be a good thing. Abstinence is powerful. Okay, so the last of the faucets of freedom is C for consistency. One of the things I love to tell clients is, remember, early sobriety is not how it's going to be forever. You're going to go through stages in your recovery. You're going to peel back the layers of an onion. And I can do a whole episode on the various stages, but you can go through post-acute withdrawal for up to 2 years after you quit drinking. So you quit drinking, you still have mood swings, you don't feel like yourself, you feel crappy. So consistency is going to be super important here, because this is not a game of instant gratification. I remember I didn't even have a pink cloud. Like, everybody was talking about, oh, I'm on this pink cloud. I was like, what the F? I don't even know what that is. Like, I feel like garbage and I'm angry as a mother. So consistency in sobriety is super important, because it also creates stability in your life, and you learn to start trusting yourself again. Because, we've let ourselves down quite a bit. And so we know recovery is not a one-time decision, right? It's a daily, sometimes hourly commitment, and it's going to reinforce our choice. So it's not a one-time thing. It's a lasting habit. And this all sounds like really cheesy and like obvious, but I constantly work with people who expect themselves to feel miraculously better after 30 days. And you will feel a lot better, but it's not going to fix everything. So it takes some consistency. It takes some time. If you drank for 10 or 15 years and you expect everything to magically go away in 30 days, well, I got news for you. But consistency gives you a sense of predictability. It gives you a little bit of control in a journey that can feel super overwhelming. So remind yourself that it's super important to stay consistent, especially in early sobriety, because, oh my God, it's full of ups and downs and doubts and temptation. And consistency is going to be your anchor, because your emotions are going to be all over the place. And the routines and the commitments you maintain will keep you grounded. Like, my biggest thing is my morning routine. The night before, I set out my coffee. I set out something warm and cozy to wear. I get my journal ready, my books ready. I get up early. My morning routine is super important to me. And it's something steady to hold on to. And it has taught me that I'm capable for showing up for myself every single day, day after day, no matter what. And it sets me up for the day. And so I go back to really proving to yourself that you can do something, because, like I said, we get so used to letting ourselves down, breaking promises to ourselves and to people around us. I became a person who, even when I said it out loud, look, I'm going to do this, or I promise I'll do that, deep, deep within myself, I knew I wasn't gonna. When I told my husband, it's going to be different this time. I'm going to stay sober. It's different this time. Deep in my gut, I knew I was the queen of breaking promises to myself, until I had realized I was just breaking my own heart. So each consistent step in sobriety will help you rebuild trust. And it will teach you that you can rely on yourself. Your word will matter. And you're more resilient in the face of challenge, because you kind of know you have your own back. And you have a track record of choosing what's right, even when it's hard. So, lastly, like, consistency allows you to see the real progress over time because we know recovery isn't instant. So the change we want to see in our lives, whether it be healthier relationships or clearer thinking or whatever, physical health, all that takes time. And consistency is the engine behind that transformation. Even if you look at it from like a pure behavioral change perspective, like if you've read Atomic Habits, if you look at it completely practical, they say it takes something like 21 days to change a basic habit. Now, addiction is the next level of that, but it's consistency is key. So a mindset shift around this can be, don't try to make it an overwhelming, massive change. Just take off small bits at a time and do things that you're going to continue to do every single day, sometimes 1 hour at a time, to stay consistent. When I think about consistency, I also think about my relationship to exercise. And I don't even call it exercise. I just call it moving my body. Because if I told myself, I'm going to exercise every day, I'm going to work out every day, well, yeah, I'm freaking not, right? We know how that's going to go. But if I tell myself, you know what, I'm going to move my body in a purposeful way every single day, I will do that consistently. And as I get into it, it builds its own momentum and I love it. So it's that mindset shift right there and giving myself a little bit of compassion and saying like, dude, I do not need to go on this big crazy workout. Not that I would anyway, but I just need to move. Even if I get on my treadmill and walk, that's what I tell myself, that's all you got to do. And it helps me to return to that treadmill because I don't have this massive pressure over my head. So exercise is a whole nother topic I can get into, but I'm going to close this out here. So as a closing challenge, I would encourage you as listeners to think about which one of these faucets of freedom is like most relevant to your journey right now. Shoot me an email, send me a message on social media. I'm curious. And where could you use more guidance and lean in a bit more? And if you're kicking ass on all these things, then great, you're the queen. Maybe share this episode with a friend or, share it with someone who is struggling. Because when you hear these faucets repeated out loud, it with some clarity, it just makes more sense. It builds a more cohesive picture of recovery and what this can look like when put all together. Now, granted, this is not an exhaustive list of what you need to do to get and stay sober. I mean, don't even get me started on how long the list can be. And I am a massive spirit junkie, so I will have full episodes dedicated to spirituality. But these are just some important things that I thought I should bring up, and they fall nicely into an acronym like whack-a-mole. You're going to whack that mole every time it pops up. So I'm going to close it out right now. Thank you for listening. I hope something in here resonated, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in. You can find me on my website at katevitella.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram at katevitella. I would love to hear from you. Any feedback or questions, shoot me a note. So until next time, peace within and bullshit out.